is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We got just two games on the Wednesday NBA DFS main slate. We got Miami and Boston. We got the Pelicans and the Thunder. So quick show, quick breakdown. Let's just jump into it, James. How you feel?
Feel good. 1 seed versus 8 seed in both matchups. So you know how these should go. One of them was a lot closer than the other one.
One of them was a lot closer than the other one. We'll start with the game that wasn't close. That's Miami and Boston here. We'll start off with Miami. Obviously, no Butler, no Terry Rozier. We saw what the rotations were in that first game for Miami. Do they have a shot here, James? Do they have a chance of being competitive in game 2 against Boston?
I mean, so you just put a gun to my head with that question. That was loaded. I mean, like, Miami is scrappy, right? They cut a 35-point lead to 14 or whatever it was, thanks to DeLon Wright's 3 barrage in the fourth quarter. And, like, Miami is they're a good defensive team, regardless of Jimmy's, attendance to games.
Sure.
But it's Boston at home, and we've said that all year. They're 37-4 at home. That was their regular season record. Now they're 1-0, so they're 38-4 overall at home this year. It doesn't mean Miami's not appealing. In a game that wasn't largely competitive, Bam played 36 minutes, and Tyler Hero played 34, and Jaquez played 36. So, I think there's still a case to be made to get to any of them, knowing that there's no Butler and Rozier. I would say Jaquez probably is the priority of the three for me. He's looked really good offensively in these last stretch of games in which he's been thrust into action. I mean, 16 shot attempts in both games he started since the Butler injury. Heroes kind of looked all out of sorts, has not looked good. He's obviously dealing with just a lot, right? The burden of Jimmy being out plus Derek White and Drew Holiday defense. Good luck, Tyler Hero. He'd probably be that's my least favorite of the three, but Bam and Jaquez I'd be perfectly fine getting to. And I think, truthfully, there's a lot of interesting value on Miami, right? Because they're all priced the way that they are. Jovic played another 26 minutes, which he's done now in back-to-back games. Hasn't been overly productive, but he is
a guy.
Shots. Yeah, he is a guy who can space the floor and he can ball handle. So if they're going to play him 26, 27 minutes, there's interest. Caleb Martin might get in a fight at some point in this game, depending on how big of a lead Boston gets out to. Because if Jalen's I don't know if you saw the clips, but they were talking, and Martin said, "You're a fake tough guy," or whatever it was.
Everybody in the NBA is a fake tough guy.
Yeah. But I mean, Highsmith, Kevin Love always in tournaments. I know he only played 13 minutes, but there was a span where he did play next to Bam.
Yeah.
DeLon Wright is obviously going to be the guy that everyone goes to, though, right? Because I don't think 6 of 7, 5 of 5 is repeatable.
I was going to say, it might be fool's gold there.
I think it is, but he is playing 20s. Low to mid 20s minutes. He is good defensively. I've always been a DeLon Wright guy, especially defensively. I think he's very, very good there, and I think that's why he's getting the time he's getting. And if he makes shots, we've seen now in 3 of the last 4 games when he's made 2 or more threes, he's had 23 plus fantasy points. So $3,800 on a slate where there's SGA, there's Tatum, there's Brown, there's Ingram. There's going to be guys you want to spend up on. I do think DeLon Wright's interesting. Would you take a shot on Duncan? Not on the injury report?
Yeah.
15 minutes.
They kind of need him to score, right?
I think so as well.
I think there's certainly merit to him there. I'll say I agree with you. Now, obviously, you watched that game. I watched that game. Jaquez reminded me of that dude that took the intramural games too seriously at the gym, intramural or the YMCA or whatever. The game was up 30. He one time got a rebound and went like coast to coast, all the way down, sprinting, layup, and the Celtics are like, all right, man, like good hustle play, like they didn't. There's a lot of that with Jaime Jaquez there in that game at times, where the Celtics were kind of just playing through the motions because they were up so big, and Jaquez was just he's a rookie trying to make things happen, which is good to him, and that's one of the reasons why I agree with you. I think I would consider going there. Boston. I mean, what do we do? What do we say? Where do we start?
Look at the pricing, dude. The pricing is great. Just gonna flat out, right? Like you can. That's some great pricing for Boston.
Yeah, $7,300 for Porzingis, right? Like, I go back to the quote during that game where they told him his like average 3-point attempt was like 27 feet, and he's like, oh, I don't know, like I'm just shooting, like I don't even know where it's coming from. You didn't need, took 8 threes, hit 4 of them. He didn't realize he was just chucking from the logo, basically. Derek White was the team's second leading scorer because that's what happens all season long. It seems like Derek White has these games. He's only $6,500. Tatum, obviously, coming off the triple-double at $95. Then the bench guys, Horford, Pritchard, Hauser, the only 3 that played, all 3 of them were productive.
You can literally play, I think, any of the top 8. Obviously, the Pritchard Hauser thing, I don't necessarily think you see 24 minutes out of, like, Peyton Pritchard in a more competitive setting, right? Like, in a game where... Sure, it was 14 at one point, but like before that, I mean, Boston was up 30 in the third quarter. So, I would say typically Horford's probably the guy that gets extended the most off the bench, right? That would be my guess. Peyton Pritchard. So this is interesting for what it's worth here, John. He actually closed the first half, the final 3 minutes. Over Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday checked in with 7 seconds remaining of the first half. So
I mean, he was making plays early. Missoula's not afraid to. I mean, you saw how hot Pritchard was to end the year, man. That dude was, fast PP out there.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, he did not play after 6:55 in the fourth. That was about when Miami started like, oh, we're in this game. Let's put guys back in, and then Boston did what they did. But it is kind of interesting, I guess. If Peyton Pritchard played 6:50, the final 6:55 of the first 5 minutes of the second, and then basically the final 3:20 of the second quarter. So
I think his play will dictate his minutes. If he gets out there, because I mean, we assume Jrue Holiday and all of them are good, right? But Holiday missed a lot of time this year with various ailments. If they could find time to limit him, and Pritchard's playing well, like why wouldn't you take him off the floor?
Elbow.
Yeah.
That elbow was barking for Holiday for a while, I feel.
Yeah, who knows? So and Hauser played 14 minutes and he hit 4 of 6 threes. I don't know if he's going to do that again. He can. We've seen it, but 14 minutes probably feels like the most we're going to see out of Sam Hauser, because Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum aren't really coming off the floor in these games. So, all right, let's go over to Pelicans Thunder. This one we expect to be a bit more competitive here. That said, Thunder are 7.5-point home favorites in this one. Zion already ruled out. Looking at the Pelican side, McCollum, Ingram, Murphy, Valanciunas, Herb Jones are your starters. If you had to target a core group there, where are you going?
So I think the center spot is our starting point, right? Okay. Because Valanciunas had a game, and he's had a couple of them in a row. But also, so the quote today, I saw this quote, and I wanted to read this. So this is from Mark Daigneault on Jonas Valanciunas. You never want to concede anything. You don't want to hand out points or rebounds to anybody. We have to keep the cost-benefit equation tilted in our favor. The minute the cost outweighs the benefit, that's when you have to adjust. To me, he's saying, if you want to keep playing Jonas Valanciunas, we will keep punishing you because he can't defend anyone that we have on the floor. But also, if you play Jonas Valanciunas, I mean, we've said it about Daigneault. He understands that there's situations that he's going to lose the rebound battle, right? Yeah. So you have to take a stance, I would say, on the Pelicans center. I think that could be one of the more important things of the day, because there are games like Jonas Valanciunas had the other night where he has 20 rebounds, and if you don't have him, you simply lose.
Right.
There's no chance. He's 5,700. He was 54 the other day. He has back-to-back 40 burgers because he's been on the floor and he stuffed the stat sheet because that's what he does.
He's a good offensive player, great rebounder. Can't play
defend.
defense.
But that's the right. If Chet doesn't shoot poorly last game, then maybe this is different, right? And it's like, well, we're gonna go to Larry Nance. So I think you have to make a decision there on what you're gonna do, because in the regular season, it was Larry Nance. Like, they didn't play Valanciunas a lot of minutes in this match. And I think that's like
average 20 minutes a game. So.
it's a reasonable expectation that if Chet comes out and knocks down like a couple threes, you see Larry Nance into this game in 4 minutes, right? And then you're like, you just see him play in large.
It almost might benefit them to go to Valanciunas early offensively to see if they can get Chet off the floor.
Agreed.
You know, and kind of go and run that way. But we'll see which way it goes. Otherwise, you know where the shooters are, right? You got McCollum, Ingram, and Murphy there. You can pick however one you want. Off the bench, who's your go-tos there?
So they gave Nance 19 minutes. They gave Najee Marshall 16. They gave Alvarado 19. I think they are probably all going to sit around that same number. If you want to get to Herb Jones, you obviously can. He just has a tough time. Like, dude, he's going to be for 33 minutes or however many minutes he's actually going to play. He's following SGA everywhere. Like, salute to him for doing that thing, right? Like, if he makes shots, then, I mean, he's the reason you win. I still lean Nance because I do think long-term, Larry Nance in 4 games, averaging 24 minutes, has been the guy that has been better in this matchup.
Yeah.
So Nance, Najee Marshall looks really good off the bench the last 2 games, 20 and a half and 28 fantasy points, and he's $200 cheaper than Jose Alvarado with multi-position eligibility. So of the bench guys, I'd probably rank them Nance, Marshall, Alvarado. Okay. But I also, like, if your stance is, well, I'm going to play Valanciunas because I think that he's going to be the guy, then obviously you're not ranking Larry Nance first. I think Larry Nance is still the guy long-term, like in this series as it plays out, even maybe in game 2, if Holmgren starts making shots, you're like, oh, well, this is not a game that Valanciunas is going to be in for very long. Right. Then you're going to see Nance. So I go Nance, Marshall, Alvarado. But again, if you view the center room differently, then probably Najee's your top dog.
All right, going over to the Thunder here. Obviously, there's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Only 40 fantasy points in 39 minutes, as we mentioned. He did go 11 for 24, but he does have Herb Jones just running all over the floor against him. Chet, Jalen, Giddy, Dort, where are you going here?
It's just the top 4 sans Giddy. And I mean,
I know. Isn't it wild? Just like
he is exiled from the rotation. They did kind of give us this heads up, right? Pre second half of the year, like they just weren't playing. It was 20 minutes done. Like, good luck unless people are out. And even sometimes it was like, well, only 26 minutes for Josh Giddey, even though no one else is on the floor. I think there's really only a comfortable case to be made for SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, who were all really good in their own regard, especially considering 2 of them played in their first playoff game, and SGA like really didn't play for the Clippers when he played in the postseason. Dort played 35 minutes. Another guy who has a really tough assignment, chasing Brandon Ingram around the floor, and it's probably why Brandon Ingram would be my least favorite Pelican, just because I never realized that this was his name, but the Dortcher Chamber is easily one of the best nicknames in basketball, because like that's literally what he does, right? Like that's so if you do think Lou Dort 2 for 6 is 4 for 6 and 3 for 4 from 3, then there's probably a little better case to play him. I don't think there's really anything you can play off the bench though, because even Mark Daigneault will never change. He played 11 guys in a game 1 of a playoff. He does not care. He is going to postseason, regular season. Like, he gave Shea, Jalen Williams 40 and 39 minutes. Nobody else changed.
Right.
Chet played 32. Lou Dort played 35. Josh Giddey played 20. And then 6 guys off the bench. So it's really just the top 3. And if you want to sprinkle in Lou Dort, you can. But I unless you have a differing opinion on a bench player for OKC,
I don't. But we have 2 games here, and we do have to build a lineup now. So I guess, do you start at the top or do you start at the bottom? Where do you want to go here?
Well, what do you think of? Because like, I do think Miami value is probably the best bet. Like Jovic is going to start and play mid 20s minutes,
And I liked Jaquez there, so that's fine.
and I think Jovic Jaquez is good Miami exposure.
Sure.
What do you think of the Pelicans center? What is your assessment on Joe Val versus Nance?
I still think Valanciunas is the guy I want.
I mean, he's a better fantasy producer for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to bank on them taking him off the floor when they didn't take him off the floor in game 1, right? So, and they only lost by 2, and it really wasn't his fault. So, I'd rather go J Val there.
Okay. I mean, we don't have to play either of them. I was just asking more so like your opinion on the.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know what else to do other than him or Horford, I guess. Like, I'm not playing Nance on the theory that Nance plays more minutes, right? Like
Holmgren or Zinger. I would play either of that. I think OKC is kind of mispriced here.
Okay.
Chet 69.
I'm fine going Chet because he has at least the mismatch there. Like,
yep.
Porzingis still has to deal with Bam, which is not fun for
not fun. Anybody. No, I mean finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, Bam.
Right. All right, so we get $6,600 here. Do you need to find another value, I guess, if you want to spend up somewhere?
Pritchard.
Where was Dort? What was Dort's price?
45 small forward only.
45 small forward only. Do you like him or Marshall if you had to pick one?
I think Najee does more, but obviously Dort played 19 more minutes, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like Najee's taken 7 and 11 shots in the last 2 games. And he's also had like kind of ridiculous stat lines to go with it. But
did you Al Horford at 5K?
Yeah, I mean we know he's the primary player. Like they're not no Cornet, right? They're not going to use another center. So he's going to mix in for Porzingis and probably play alongside Porzingis as well.
I figured Tatum's the one we have to play for here, right?
Yeah, Tatum even in a bad shooting night was
so we got shooting guard and guard with 6K per play.
Worst positions ever. They're guard.
I guess we got.
I mean, Delon Wright.
Yeah, we probably go
3,800.
So I did Murphy. It gives us 54 for a guard, which is it's Pritchard or Wright.
We'll do Delon Wright, and then see what we can do with the rest of our dollars. Because
go Tatum here at power forward, and then get off Jovic. Gives us 58 for a util. Gets us right back to Valanciunas.
I'm not necessarily co-signing Valanciunas because I don't like the matchup. I am on the fence about Valanciunas. But if you went, you could go.
Herb's still there. He's going to play all the minutes. Herb was good. He just missed his shots. He was only 2 of 10.
If you went back to Jovic,
yeah,
and then played Tatum.
Yeah, Tatum for who?
Played Tatum for Jaquez. I got the move right here.
Okay.
Then you can go J-Dub at util.
Okay.
So it went from Jovic.
Valanciunas.
Jovic, Valanciunas, Tatum to Tatum, Jovic, Jaquez, Jovic, Valanciunas to Tatum, Jovic,
Jalen Williams. All right, that works for me. We had $600 left over. If you wanted to mess around with it, that would get you Hauser. So you kind of have your pick of Hauser, DeLon Wright. We agree that DeLon Wright probably gets the minutes there. So example lineup for everybody: Derek White, Trey Murphy, Jason Tatum, Nikola Jovic, Chet Holmgren, DeLon Wright, Al Horford, Jalen Williams. All right, there's not 50. Is there 56? There's not. It would be Herb or Horford if you had to pick one.
I mean, Herb's gonna again. I wouldn't hate Herb. I just,
I think Herb probably is the better play. The
I think
minute's
so.
going to be
I think so.
there. And he just missed his shots. So, all right, there it is. Updated lineup: White, Murphy, Tatum, Jovic, Holmgren, Wright, Jones, Jalen Williams. 2-game slate. Grande will have your playbook, so check that out on FantasyStorm.com. We'll of course have shows here throughout the first round of the NBA playoffs. So find us in the Discord, get us on Twitter if you have any questions. Good luck with your lineups, and we'll catch you later.